Number one, deleting social media. Perhaps you have a similar experience to me when it comes to social media. Typically, when I used to have Instagram and other things like this, I would spend a lot of my time just scrolling, especially if I was on the toilet or, just lying in bed or something. I'd spend my time scrolling and seeing all these things about what I could become, what I could try doing, all of these kind of bits of life advice, maybe like health tips and stuff. And I originally thought that they were probably really helpful, but they just weren't. Initially, it's a great thing, but you eventually find that you're just kind of overwhelmed and you've spent about half an hour to like an hour to 2 hours or even 3 hours just scrolling and kind of just getting more mentally dumb, where you have less actual attention that you can give to the world, and you're not really getting anything in exchange for it. You're just passing time. And then when you return to what you're actually meant to be doing, you're not even mentally refreshed because you've just spent the last like half an hour or however long just scrolling and taking so much information, consuming so much, and you just haven't been able to give yourself even a break. So it was kind of pointless. You've just kind of wasted some time that you could have used for something else. What I did then is I deleted Instagram from my phone, and I deleted YouTube from my phone as well. I'd already got rid of all of the apps like Facebook and Snapchat and all them type of ones. Since I've done that, I'm not exactly any kind of like amazing enlightened person or anything. I still spend many hours even just wasting time just scrolling on my phone, but I'm scrolling on things that are a bit more kind of helpful towards getting me where I want to go in life. When I'm bored, I'll pull up the the app for driving, for instance, and I'll just do the questions on that to get through my practice, my theory exam for the UK driving. Or I'll bring up a PDF of a book that I've been reading, and it's just that extra bit of information that pushes the things that I need to do in my life to be able to get further ahead. It just helps push them even that 0.5% closer to what I want to do, rather than just instead just go on Instagram and waste half an hour, or TikTok or whatever, and waste half an hour to an hour or whatever scrolling through some things. I think the biggest obstacle to actually doing this, and the biggest downside or perceived downside to deleting social media or something, is that you have FOMO, where you're fearing that you're going to miss out, and then also maybe FOMOI, which is fear of missing out on information as well. I think a lot of people think that when they delete something like Instagram or TikTok or any of these things, they're going to miss out on valuable information and insights. And so when we delete these things like Instagram or TikTok or whatever, you do kind of worry. You're thinking, well, I've been able to get all this information which has helped me out so far, and I've used these kind of channels to be able to get them. And if I delete this, am I going to miss out on valuable insights? I don't think that's actually really the case. I think in terms of fear of missing out on information, I think that a lot of this stuff is just there kind of to clickbait, or it's to give you a very, very surface level understanding about a certain thing. I think that when your time isn't spent, spending that half an hour to that hour to that 3 hours every day, doing these things like scrolling and stuff, you can instead spend that time, and you will find yourself being able to do that, spending that time, say for instance, reading a book or something. And the amount of detail that you're going to get in a book is going to be on a whole nother level compared to seeing a 30-minute, not even that, a 30-second Instagram reel or TikTok or something about a certain topic. That's one of the key things that you do find, that when you do delete social media, you're actually kind of a bit bored. You spend a lot more of your day kind of just lying around, kind of going, oh, what can I do? And there's kind of it's really quite funny. You kind of, at least for me, in my experience, I've traded the kind of the pain of feeling overwhelmed about things and I've traded it for the pain of being bored. The consequence of that, though, is that I deal with my boredom by doing like interesting things that are going to help like push my future ahead. But the consequence of being overwhelmed is that I just feel stressed and I don't make any progress in anywhere I want to go. That boredom allows you to be able to read more in-depth books, because not only are you like giving yourself boredom, you're also training yourself to be able to have a more higher, longer attention span by, for instance, reading a book or something. These apps and stuff, I don't have any scientific data for it, but I'm sure there's probably some out there and a great sourcing, but they're purposefully there to try and track you and keep your attention, and so they're having to like constantly show you flashy, interesting things, keep you in on hooks, and it's really like this. It's like learning philosophy through reading slogans. You're just going to end up in this kind of like schizophrenic, one-liner kind of viewpoints about the world, and you're never going to end up with any kind of like deep, fulfilling and well-built understanding about how things work if you just rely on just social media. The other one I found is the fear of missing out. Now, for me personally, I've graduated university. I've got a good group of friends that I've known for literally like 7 years, maybe even like for some of them even 10 and stuff. And for a lot of the friends that I've made at university, I haven't been in a position where I can even pay to be able to like travel to see them and stuff. So I haven't really had the need to engage with my friends on social media. So perhaps I'm in a slightly different position than others. But I found that now I don't really use social media as much, or I've deleted it from my phone and stuff. It means I can actually focus on the kind of more personal relationships I have. I will say, and this is the trade-off, I haven't kept in touch with as many people as I could have. But when I think about it, would I really be keeping in touch with them? I'm not really someone who can really have... I'm not very good at texting. Sorry, there's mosquitoes. I'm not really someone who is very good at like messaging. I'd rather meet people face to face, actually engage with them. So it hasn't really changed anything. It's just that superficially, I don't really actually see if someone's uploaded a picture or something. And the trade-off is that could have damaged the relationship I could have with that person. But the way I think about it now is that if I can have more time to focus on getting my base layer sorted, then I can then finally be in a position where if I keep that secure and I'm not overwhelmed with life, I have processes and systems for everything, then I can then start dedicating time to actually give to people. And I can be a much more grounded and a much more giving person because of that. So I think on the whole, I haven't really actually lost anything. Superficially, the initial thing before I did it was that I did worry that I wouldn't be able to see as many funny things, or I wouldn't get as much information, or I wouldn't be able to I'd worry that I'd lose the friends that I've made. But what I found in my own time is rather that I have more time to develop deeper knowledge, which is ultimately the thing I wanted in the first place, but I just get it better now. I have traded having less time for my friends, but then maybe you could argue that it's probably better I give time to people that is more than just liking their photo or something. And three, with humor or information and stuff, I just have that deeper there. Now what I will say to this is that it can be very, very hard to make that transition. So one of the ways that I did that is I've kind of created a bridge which will make this so much easier. One, for instance, I'm lucky enough that my friends all use Facebook Messenger. Yes, we are about 60, but we use Facebook Messenger, which means that I can get rid of Facebook, I can just have the Messenger, and then essentially Messenger becomes my social media. I find myself when I'm bored and when I'm not really doing much, just going on my phone and checking like the groups that I'm in, just seeing if there's anything new. And it means that I'm actually still communicating with my friends. I'm just not doing it through some kind of third, like, well, a social media platform. I'm just using the messaging in it. So I'd recommend, what I'd probably say, and I haven't done this myself, but you could for instance just get all your friends and just like maybe message them, maybe just make like groups in like Facebook Messenger or like WhatsApp or Telegram or any of these things, and you could just kind of create those groups and then all just keep in communication with them like one-on-one, and perhaps you'd be able to have like a kind of a much more like deeper friendship with those people. I'd also maybe say that, there's not that many people in the world that you're really going to be able to like jive with like completely. Like they're not people you could probably count, maybe like, I don't know, I think you probably could. You could probably count on your hands like how many people you really feel like you've got so much in line with, and you almost feel like you've had very, very similar lives and you both see the world very similarly. I don't think if you had 300 followers or 1,000 followers or whatever, or on Instagram, that's going to make any difference to that. Ultimately, yeah, like probably 90% of the people that you would have on Instagram, if not maybe more, aren't going to be people that that you're going to have the whole of your life with. And that's okay, because everyone's slightly different, and there are just a few people that are very, very similar that you can really feel like you can bond with, in my opinion. So I would say the downside to my viewpoint is that you do kind of lose more of that kind of connection. But from my own experience, it's connection to people who you don't really have a core connection anyway. It's maybe just circumstance, or it's maybe just kind of more of like just a social bubble thing of like, oh well, I know that person and that person knows this person, I'm friends with this person, so I'll follow them and like their photos or something. And they're not going to be there long term necessarily. So to keep the good things about it, which is not to get rid of FOMO and still have communication with my friends, I just used alternative things like WhatsApp, Messenger, and these things. I also downloaded Instagram onto my laptop and onto my girlfriend's phone, so that if I really need to see these things, I can go and do it. And I think that this is one of the really key things which really help me out, because if I can tell myself, oh, it's okay, like I can, if I really need to, I can just go on these things and I can access it, and then I can then still communicate with people. And I think that is that's the biggest hurdle to deleting social media, is you feel like you just will lose complete connection. So what I would say is, in the transition out of this, or even just in general, like I've still got Instagram on my laptop, I've still got Instagram on my girlfriend's phone, and it's there so that if I have to use it, I can use it. But here's the thing, like this is the reason why I'm making it one of the points that I think is worth you considering if you want to improve your life, like, is that I haven't used them. I haven't felt like I've needed to. I've actually had far more things I've wanted to do in my own life, and so I haven't actually gone on these things because I've literally just found better things to do with my time. And so that's why I'd say it's a quality of life improvement, because literally the things I want to do with my life have changed from something that I didn't want to do to something that I want to do. Or they've moved from things that I did like to do to things that I'd like to do even more. And it's only been an improvement. It's only that I've changed to something better. And if it wasn't better, then I would find myself going on my laptop or my girlfriend's phone to check Instagram, but I haven't. And I think that's a testament, in my own opinion, to why it's a valuable thing to do. So I'd say on the whole, if you are wanting to quit social media or get off it, you don't have to put out any big statements or anything. Just delete it from the thing that you mainly use, like your phone or something, and put it on something that you don't usually use for that thing. And then most importantly, create other streams of things to do. So for instance, this might be like reading books, or this might be like, I don't know, joining a club. This might be having an actual network on, say, WhatsApp or Telegram or whatever, of ways that you can still be sociable. Because we don't want to lose the sociability. The whole point is that we want to lose the overwhelmness, and we want to keep the sociability. So if you can find ways to keep the things that you did want, which is the sociability, which is the information, and get rid of the things that you didn't want, which is the overwhelming and kind of lack of purpose in being able to bring you towards the things you want to do, and then you've got exactly what you wanted to get out of it. And I just find that I get that through the information now I get through books, and the sociability of it all I get through other apps like Messenger or WhatsApp or any of these things. I also think that I kind of feel like, you know, I'm not overwhelmed by as many things that are kind of engaged in politics and these kind of temporal, really emotionally driven things. I think I can, like, I don't despair about the world as much, which maybe people would see as a negative thing, that I should be informed and I should be this way and that way. But at the moment, I currently don't see it as any useful thing for me to lament about the world when I can't do anything about it. I'd rather lament about the world when I can do something about it, and when I'm in a position of power and influence to be able to influence it in the way that I want to do that. And right now, I'm at the bottom, or very close to the bottom of any form of power or any influence in the world. And so there's no point in me trying to engage with something that I can't do anything about. Some bonus points as well. Now, I might make a future video going over all the things I do to kind of store and like compact and kind of interpret and gain knowledge. But one of the other things I do is I deleted YouTube from my phone as well, because I was just scrolling that, and instead I downloaded NewPipe, and you can find your own way how to do that. There's probably some videos online. You have to download F-Droid, and then from downloading F-Droid you then download NewPipe from that. But essentially NewPipe gets rid of all the adverts for YouTube, so I kind of primarily did this so that I could listen to music, and I could also turn my screen off so that I could play music and not have the screen glaring and waste the battery or anything. But what I've found is that it's actually really good, because if you don't import all the things that you used to be subscribed to on YouTube and stuff, you can start for a blank slate. And there's even the option to disable thumbnails as well, so you can't even get driven into like clickbait videos or anything if you just disable that. It means that now when I've like gone on to NewPipe, I'm not really and you can also change it so that, you know, you can't get suggested videos or any of these things. And so it means that when I go on to these things, I'm finding I'm purposefully searching for certain things, and so I'm not just kind of getting blown in any other direction about what to do with my life or with ideas. And it means that because of that, I'm more streamlined. And when you have more streamlinedness, like if you think about like a water jet or water stream, the more focused the water is, the more power it has to push forward. Whereas if it's dispersed in so many areas, it's going to have less energy. So it means that all of my work is far more streamlined and towards certain goals, meaning I can get to them quicker and I can overcome hurdles that other people haven't been able to do, unfortunately. And I've also done this same thing with my computer at home and my laptop as well, where I've like blurred or disabled thumbnails, and I've also like added like ad blockers and stuff to the things. And my god, ads are so like, you really don't realize how bad they are until you've not had to like live with them. It's like eating crap junk food for the whole of your life, and then going for like maybe a year of just eating healthy food, and then going back and having a burger or something. You can see how much it affects you after it. You can't notice it when you're in it because you've adapted to it, but you can really realize how different it is when you go from a lesser state, from a higher state to a lesser state, and these things. A downside of this has been that because I'm now purposefully seeking things out, I can often come across like I kind of enter into that same boredom again. You know, the only things that I'm seeing are things that I've intentionally brought up to see. This means often that when I go to NewPipe for music and stuff, I'm listening to a lot of the very much the same music. But what I would say is that at least I'm in a position where I can now choose to not be bored by then you know, going on maybe some of these things where they will suggest you stuff. And also maybe arguably, and this could be another way that I'm maybe kind of coping with it or anything, but I can now, for instance, if I'm really bored with the music I'm consuming, I can now purposefully go out there and go, what, you know, like just Google search or something like, what are different genres of music? Or I can bring a lot more intentionality to it. And so I'm not just maybe passively absorbing things, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does mean that I'm controlling what I'm influenced by as well, which I think has its positives and its negatives, but I don't necessarily see it as too much of a downside that I get bored, because exactly what I was saying earlier, the boredom can also be really helpful, because it can just make you go, I'm so bored, I'm actually going to do something that's kind of productive towards my life. And then when you enact that, you're actually, even if it's just like reading a page of a book, you're still a page of a book further ahead than the version of you that would have had social media, that would have had all these distractions virtually, and that decided just to watch 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 3 hours worth of things that you're not actually really properly focused on, and you don't actually really properly care about. So that's what I would say. This is what unofficial, uncertified Dr. Tom says is the thing to do, is that if you've got a good group of friends, and I mean, as a side note, maybe you could even just still make friends without having social media. I don't know how many people have really made long-lasting, actually no, a lot of people do make friendships online, but you can also go and meet people in person and have real physical virtual not virtual, the opposite, in-person relationships with people, but maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's harder or something, I don't know. What I would say though is that if you have got a good group of friends, and if you are finding yourself overwhelmed and wanting to quit social media and not wanting to be as overwhelmed by all this, if you're also if you've got that friendship there, and if you also have that desire to want to read and do these things, then this is what I would say. I'd recommend putting Instagram, putting any of the social media that you use onto another device or something you can access, so that you're not scared that you can't access it, but also not something that you would have primarily used it for. And then you'll find out if, and then also you want to then build that alternative that you can do instead, and kind of work at that, and also have an intentional desire in your head, thinking, okay, if I do read this, I will be able to have more money in the future, or I will be able to have better relationships with people in the future, or I will know how to negotiate better, or I will understand deeper this thing about society that I wanted to know for ages, or any of these things. If you can also have that strong desire there, then it's going to be less tempting to go back onto these social medias. So I'd say put it onto another device, secure your friends virtually in other areas like WhatsApp or any of these things, just by just messaging them, just going, hey, I'm gonna stop trying to use these things, but I want us to just still be good friends, so can I get your number, or any of these things, and then you can just continue friendship there. And yeah, that's it. And then just have that other resource that you can access. That might be, for instance, having some kind of thing on your phone that you can access when you're really bored. Like, for instance, for me, it's the driving app to practice my theory test that I'm going to have to do for driving in the UK. Or it might be, at the moment, it's trading 2-on-2, where I go on my phone when I'm very bored and I'm just like, how are my stocks doing? Wow. Today, my stocks have gone up by 5p, and it isn't. It's simply that I'm trading when I'm bored, like for things that are just going to help me out in the future.